Hey everybody, this is AK Try Some Stuff. Of course, I'm AK. Today I'm going to try and replace all the speakers in my car. I've never done a car speaker install before. Now, I have replaced some things before in the car. I have replaced the strut that holds the front hood up, because before that, you used to have to use a big stick to prop it up. I've replaced the coilovers. I have replaced the antenna on the back. I've also replaced the boot cover. Quick shout out to Regular Car Reviews. Man, Mr. Regular does a fantastic job. The writing on there is amazing. Tavares, man, watching Tavares' videos back to back, that's what really inspired me to get into, or even to think that I could do this project myself. He bought the US's or America's cheapest
2008 Lamborghini Gallardo Spider.
It had fire damage and it wouldn't get out of first gear, and he's just sort of been like just working on this thing day after day. Now he's in Florida and I'm in Georgia, and I don't know how he does it. He must do that at like 2 o'clock in the morning, because it's 8 o'clock in the morning here and I'm already sweating. So shout out to Tavares. Hovey's Garage. Hated his voice, got over it. He's out in Wichita, but he does a really good job of his videos. And I didn't understand why he was doing what he was doing, but I kind of figured it out after a while. So shout out to him. Hated listening to Doug DeMuro for like the longest time. Hovey too. But I kind of got over that and started to appreciate the kind of videos that he was doing. And also, Doug, if you hear this, if you watch any part of this video, put some damn pants on. Seeing you get into somebody else's car wearing shorts drives me up a wall. And I don't know. I think because I'm a comic and there's this whole thing about like when you're on stage, you don't wear shorts. So you doing it in a video drives me nuts. I don't know why. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean you don't have a great channel. You do. It's just, I just wish you would wear pants. That's it. Let's look at the parts that I've pulled together for this project, and we'll get started. So here's the parts list I went with. I've got Pioneer speakers, and I will list the model number in the description below if you can't see it on the screen. I went with Pioneer because that's the brand that got returned the least when I worked at Best Buy. You can't reuse the old mounts. It just isn't going to work. I mean, you could, but the amount of effort that you'd have to put into reusing the old mounts isn't worth it. Just get new mounts and then make it work. I went with adapters for connecting the existing speaker wires to the speakers themselves, because I don't do well at soldering and putting the shrink tube on there. I'm not good at it. So, and I didn't want there to be a short, and I didn't want there to be something wrong, and then I had to go in and undo the wiring and try all over again. And with the adapters, I knew I was going to get it right in the first. I got the screws from the local hardware store because I knew the old speakers were held in by rivets. I also bought panel poppers from eBay. They were like $1.50, maybe a little less. And I did that so that when I would remove the panels, I wouldn't mess up the trim. Certain screws to remove certain panel pieces use Torx screws. And there are a couple different sizes that typically you'll find in this car. Sometimes it's a T15, sometimes it's a T30, and I had one of each just to be on the safe side. Now, I know I said all I needed were those orange panel poppers, but it just so happened to get this piece off. I actually needed a real metal screwdriver to get underneath this little notch in order to pop everything else out. I give the speakers installers when I worked at Best Buy more credit now than I ever did when I worked there. And I thought those guys were pretty cool anyway. But let me tell you something, this video isn't about that. Hell, it isn't even what the channel is about. This is about taking on a big project and completing it, which I don't have a good track record for. Don't believe me? You'll see what I'm talking about in the future videos. I was going to replace the speakers and fix the back window, which I thought was, quote, off track. But what that actually meant was that the peg that held the window to the connector had fallen out. And it's just a thing that happens with windows. The little plastic peg falls out and you got to replace it.
it's a pain. And I was going to start with just doing that, and then when I realized the speakers were gone, it just made more sense to replace the whole thing. So I did that. Now, there is a good reason that I put so much effort into a car that's this old. It's a 2003. It wasn't really my car, it was my mom's car, and when she was sick, I wasn't able to take care of her towards the end of her life. So there's that part of me that feels like if I can take care of her stuff, then that's the next best thing. It has an emotional.
Here's the speaker. You can tell that it's just completely just rotted out on the inside. You can see all the way through. This is just shredded.
No matter what I add or replace to make the car more like my own, it's still a constant reminder of her. I honestly don't know if it's helpful or if driving it every day to work keeps me from having real closure. But that's it. The car means a lot to me. The car, she maintained it, and I'm trying to maintain it.
It's not the prettiest thing, but it did kind of get the job done. You know, like obviously the adapter worked no problem, but these screws here, I had to redo these screws. It's fine though. You know, I played music. The music was great. This is solidly in there. I could probably do a chin up off this thing if I needed to. So I'm gonna get the door back on and maybe take a break and then do the back door. Back door is gonna be a pain though because I have to deal with that window off the track. So you know, they say the first one takes the longest and everything else should go a lot faster, and hopefully that's true.
If I were to ask her, she would just tell me, hey, it's just a thing. It's not a big deal. And just let it go. And that's great in retrospect, but you know, at the time when you're really hurting, it's hard to let that stuff go. So in the meantime, I just do what I can in order to hold on to everything that I have that reminds me of her. Now I've got other things. The car isn't it, but the car is significant. She actually tried to give me the car years ago. I think she was looking for a new car, and I turned it down because I said, hey, I don't have the income. I don't have a good enough job in order to keep up with this car. She offered to me again. I turned it down again. And I'm okay with that. I could have had this car years ago, and who knows where I would have been between then and now. But here I am. Got this car as a constant reminder of her. I just want to do my best to maintain. So in the end, this is me trying to not just install some speakers, but me trying to cope. I've never had to cope like this before. And this is a brand new thing for me. This is the shit I'm trying to do. Just be normal and take care of the things I think are important. But in the end, they really aren't.
All right, after a very long and hot day, it got to be 90 out, and I'm not doing a car speaker install in 90-degree weather in Georgia. Yeah, we're not going to do that. So some of it obviously needed some trimming in order to get the housing into the door right. I got a chance to really kind of take care of Mom's car. It's my car, but it still feels like Mom's car in a way too. And I learned to not be afraid of kind of getting there and cutting on some stuff and making some modifications, even if it wasn't planned. I still got in there and did it and made it happen. So yeah, that's it. This was interesting, and I'll see you all next time for the next one. Peace.